Welcome to Christian Leadership, Session 1. Before we get into models and tools, which later sessions will take you through in detail, we need to spend this first session somewhere most leadership courses skip past. That is character. Most leadership courses start with skills. They teach you how to plan, how to speak, and how to organize a group of people toward a goal. This course starts somewhere else, and that is deliberate. As the three graphic on this slide illustrates, visible skills without the deep roots of character sooner or later tend to harm. A gifted communicator with a compromised private life can build a large following and still leave a trail of hate behind him. Scripture is blunt about this. Think of Saul. He had the height, the presence, and even the early humility of a king. But his disobedience unraveled his reign. 1 Samuel chapter 15 put it starkly. Ability got him the throne. Character is what he lacked to keep it. The Ghanaian theologian Robert Aboagye-Mensah makes a similar point about African church leadership specifically. As quoted here, he argues that we have too often measured leadership by outward success, numbers, buildings, and visibility, while neglecting the inner formation Scripture treats as primary. I want you to sit with that discomfort for this whole session before we move. In later sessions, to the more visible tools of vision, goal setting, and team building. Let us start by clearing away some confusion. Before we can define leadership positively, it helps to name what leadership is not. Because a lot of things get called leadership that, on closer inspection, aren't. As you can see by the crossed out terms on screen, we need to discard several false equivalents to arrive at an accurate definition. First, leadership is not management. Management maintains systems and keeps existing processes running, whereas leadership influences people and creates change. Look at the comparison matrix on this slide. A manager can plan, budget, and organize a ministry competently for years without ever setting a new direction for it. Both matter in church life, but they are not the same skill. A pastor who only manages will preside over a stagnation dressed up as stability. Leadership is not entrepreneurship. Spotting an opportunity represented by the open door icon here is a real and useful gift, but it isn't the same as being able to influence a group of people to pursue that opportunity together. Likewise, possessing knowledge is not leadership. Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power, and that's true as far as it goes. But plenty of highly intelligent scholars and technical specialists have almost no capacity to influence others. Academic brilliance and leadership capacity are simply different things. Being a pioneer is not leadership. Being first or leaving a footprint on a new path doesn't by itself make you a leader. Leadership requires people who are intentionally following you, not just a trend others happen to notice and copy. And holding a position is not leadership. It is not the nameplate on the desk or the title that makes the leader. It is the leader that makes the position. A title can be handed to someone, but the right to lead still has to be earned through character and trust. So, what is leadership? Definitions are almost as numerous as the books written on the subject, but most converge on a simple core. Leadership is influence. John Maxwell puts it memorably here on the slide. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Notice what that definition doesn't say. Doesn't say leadership is a title, an office, or a place on an organizational chart. Someone can hold a senior position and exercise almost no real influence. Someone else with no title at all can shape the direction of a whole congregation simply because people trust and follow them. Pastoral application, the hidden leaders. This matters pastorally because many of you already lead. In this sense, long before any denomination ordains you or any board appoints you, consider the small group deep in conversation on this slide. A quiet woman who disciples younger women is a leader. A youth leader teenagers confide in is a leader. A deacon whose opinion carries weight in every meeting is a leader. All of these are leaders, whether or not the word appears on a certificate. Common threads in leadership definition. The handout gives you 7 definitions from different voices. Read across them, and a few common threads show up again and again. Much like the connecting puzzle pieces on screen, leadership involves influence. It requires followers. Without anyone actually following, the word doesn't apply. However talented the would-be leader is, it's oriented toward a goal, moving people somewhere rather than just occupying space. It demands character because people extend trust chiefly to those they respect, and it mobilizes people toward shared aspirations, not the leader's private agenda. So, finally, what then is Christian leadership specifically? As the flowchart illustrates, if leadership in general is influence, Christian leadership is influence exercised in a particular direction and for a particular purpose. Ted Engstrom describes the Christian leader as a servant with the credibility and capability to influence people positively, to have them following his lead toward God-given ends. Two things stand out here. First, the goal of Christian leadership is not the leader's own advancement, it is the accomplishment of God's purposes through people. Second, the manner of that leadership is meant to be Christ-like, marked by humility and service, not domination. Here is the working definition that will guide the rest of this course. Christian leadership is the God-given capacity to influence others, exercised in a Christ-like manner of humility and service, so that God's purposes are accomplished for and through both leader and followers. Notice the 3 moving parts separated into pillars at the bottom. First, the source of leadership, a gift from God, not merely a personality trait. Second, the manner of leadership, Christ-like and servant-hearted. Third, the goal of leadership, God's purposes, not the leader's own kingdom. Before the next video, look over the leadership versus management table and the 7 definitions table in your handout. And then take the short quiz. See you in the next video.